Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special episode of the Game Changers podcast. My name is Quincy Shis, and I'm here in picturesque Denry.
You could say that I'm one of the founding members or one of the movers and shakers when it comes to Dennery Segment music and just music on a whole here in Saint Lucia.
Some people say that, the beat and the rhythm is very good, but the lyrics need to be cleaned up.
At the end of the day, people will consume what they want to consume at the end of it all. But again, that is very much understood, being something that is pioneered right now and being celebrated as authentically Saint Lucian. You don't want to bring across the vulgarity to it, if you want to call it that.
Right.
But at the end of it all, it's still identifiable or unique to our way of living or our life here on the island.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special episode of the Game Changers podcast. My name is Quincy Shis, and I'm here in picturesque Denry. It's a beautiful location, and I have a even better guest. But I will let him tell a little bit about himself. Introduce yourself to my audience. So people might know your face, but might not know much about you. So we'll speak a little bit about that today. So tell my audience who you are.
All right, so my name is Jason Darius, better known in entertainment circles as Jammin. So I am a producer. I used to be in journalism or Saint Lucia journalism for about 10 plus years. Did PR as well. And you could say that I'm one of the founding members or one of the movers and shakers when it comes to Dennery Segment music and just music on a whole here in Saint Lucia. And that is just the tip of the iceberg. I'm a lot of things to a lot of people. I do video, graphic design, and a whole gamut of a bunch of other stuff. So that's what it is.
All right. So that's interesting. So what comes first for you, music or journalism or media?
That's like asking me to pick between like your two children. You can't do that.
Right.
But it's something that I first got into journalism because, again, I guess because of music.
Okay.
At first, when we actually started music, that was back in probably 2009 or something thereabout. So I linked up with a couple of artists from the Denry, from the Valley Basin, guys with immense talent, immense possibilities. Again, just didn't have a platform, didn't have an outlet to record music to showcase their talent really and truly. So in helping them do that, I gained and acquired a bunch of additional skills, if you want to call it that. I learned to record, I learned to do graphic design, I learned to write. So with that being said, a little later on down the line, I started getting into radio and then eventually journalism, news reporting, and that's my passion. It's the same way that I tell the story of these young gentlemen. That's the same way I'm able to tell the story of what makes the headlines in Saint Lucia. Yeah.
All right. So then what was the defining moment for you to know like was something that you really wanted to do long term? Both of them, but let's focus on the music.
All right, so the music long term, I don't know, I guess it just kind of found me. There's this gap like right after, you would say like right after school, like when you try to find yourself really and truly, and you're just trying to just dabble in whatever passions really work. At first it was graphic design. I installed Photoshop, deleted Photoshop instantly because that just was not working. But I eventually go back into it. But again, it's just finding like-minded individuals and just learning together and growing something, and that really what kind of developed the passion for music. For me, for journalism, I have to give an immense shout out to Miss Lovely St. Amy Joseph.
Yes.
That's when I started at NBC. I arrived at my interview and I was like, okay. At that time I was on radio already. I feel like I could have had like a really good speaking voice. It just needed a little bit of polishing and whatnot. Right. So as soon as I walked into the room, I got that script. I started reading, and the cadence and the flow, everything just needed a little bit of polishing.
Right.
So Lovely really just took my hand, guided me, worked with me, and after that, the rest is history. And just big up to everybody who kind of helped me along the way too.
Beautiful. And it's interesting that you have that story, because I have that story too as well. And people don't understand that, when you get into the media space, yes, if you listen to news, you understand that news has a rhythm, a cadence, a sound. You can listen to news in any language and you can tell that it is news just because of the way the journalists sound. And yeah, it takes a lot of practice and a lot of people don't even understand that. And I'm guessing that it's something similar for music. So what is your music story? How did you get into music to begin with?
All right. So how did I get into music? That's a very, well, you sent me back in history then. So all right, so it started, I would say, probably with Mighty, you know, Kedek Kedek, all these kind of things. But before all of that, there was Mighty was like a young boy, straight out of Clendon Mason.
Right.
He was trying to get into recording with Studio 911. They did a little bit of music and stuff together. But again, just being that he was so young, he couldn't go into the clubs and stuff where the guys were performing at. So, and again, trying to get studio time when you cannot really maximize the output from that. It's a little bit difficult. So we kind of just found each other, started working on some mixed craft, some other software and stuff. And eventually we kind of just learned and grew together. So for me, it was just giving him an outlet, giving the guys around me an outlet to just really do something. So when I got into that, it was really just a laptop, a headphone mic, and just vibes, really and truly. So that was back in 2009, like I said. That was a long time ago. So that was Mighty, Servants, DRC, Satish, Swiftner. A lot of the guys, all of us just come together with that common mindset that, hey, we just want to make music. We just want to build something. And again, at that time, the thing that we were building, remember those Kuduro loops, like the Costuletta stuff?
Right.
I mean, it had a vibe. It was sort of infectious. That was what we were hearing all around us all the time. And we wanted something like that. So we started singing on those same kind of beats, same kind of loops until we actually made instrumentals that had that similar sound as well. Like deeply rooted in the whole solo, the whole carnival vibe of it all. And yeah, the rest is history from there. We made a couple of songs. And again, boy, it was difficult to get any airplay on the radio just because the lyrics, they were just so vulgar. The subject matter, it was difficult to get a foot in the door at the time. And when we used to go perform different places, you were there, oh, that's Dennery Segment. They're really nothing. There was a stigma attached to it. There was something, there was just a negative connotation about it. There's something to really take serious. But lo and behold, like decades later, that's what is really flying the Saint Lucian flag everywhere around the globe now. Everywhere you go, it's a Denry Segment before anything else.
Right.
So it's a really cool story. I feel somewhat, how do you call it, vindicated?
Okay.
Yeah. So coming from nothing really and truly to being one of the flagships for Saint Lucia on the global scheme. Yeah, that's something to be proud of for sure.
All right. So we're due for our first commercial break, but we'll come back with more Jason and we'll dive a little bit more into the Dennery Segment after this. Bruh, people keep asking me, how do I get into this podcast space? How do I actually get into podcasting? But it's so easy. I don't know why you guys are overcomplicating it. All you need is a browser and riverside.fm. It's that simple. This tool is designed to simplify high-quality video and audio online. Whether you're doing interviews for your startup, doing a live webinar, or just need some talking head clips, it records everything locally. Means that even if your internet lags, you get smooth video quality at 4K and smooth audio as well. Plus, it turns your long-form episodes into short clips that you can share across social media. If you want to start podcasting or recording online like a pro, click the link down below. Hello guys, welcome back to the Game Changers podcast. This time with Jason Darius. And Jason, you were speaking to me about Denry Segment. Now, this podcast is a Caribbean-wide and international podcast, but people might not know what Denry Segment is. What is Denry? Where is Denry? Tell me a little bit about what Denry Segment is, and then I will have a little bit more conversations as to its development going forward.
All right, so Denry is a small fishing village on the east coast of St. Lucia, full of vibe, full of energy, full of rhythm. That's where you would find most of our ancestral upbringings being very celebrated, if you want to call it that. So going to the Heart of Olio, going to Denry, you'll see the Lawas, the Lamagiri groups, all these solo sessions and everything happening. That is what Denry is. So Denry segment is just basically taking that, making it electronic and bringing it up into the modern age. What I like to think of it as is like, you never, like when you went to school and you used to beat the drums on the desk and stuff like that. Just take that and bring it into an electronic and a shareable and marketable thing for everybody to enjoy. So that's what Dennery segment is. And for me, Dennery is just a place that's full of vibes. Like I told you before, Dennery segment had a negative connotation before. And right now, it's been celebrated as authentically Saint Lucian because that's what it is. We take those elements of solo, zouk, just that upbringing of us as a Saint Lucian people, that identity, that's what it translates to into the music.
All right. So some, and let's go to the core of that point though. Some people say that, the beat and the rhythm is very good, but the lyrics needs to be cleaned up to reach to a more international market and maybe to represent Saint Lucia differently on the global stage. To that, what does Jason Darius say?
I mean, to each his own. At the end of the day, people will consume what they want to consume at the end of it all. But again, that is very much understood, being something that is pioneered right now and being celebrated as authentically Saint Lucian. You don't want to bring across the vulgarity to it, if you want to call it that.
Right.
But at the end of it all, it's still identifiable or unique to our way of living or our life here on the island. So, I mean, you kind of have to balance it in such a way. But again, you need to clean it up. You need to make it as marketable as possible.
Right.
And I think we've been doing a good job at that in recent times, more or less, because I think every year now there are Dennery segment songs touching like the other hemispheres of the globe.
Right.
So that is something to be celebrated. So right now, yeah, we can use a little bit of work in terms of cleaning up the lyrics and making it more, how you say, palatable for some.
Right.
But at the same time, you don't want to lose that authenticity or that uniqueness of it all as well.
All right. And then to that point, what makes Dennery segment so, I guess, so popular and what it is really? What part of it makes it? Is it, I mean, maybe some people might say the vulgarity is exactly what sells. Other people might say, no, it's the rhythm, the beat, maybe if the artists themselves. What would you say?
Denry segment is dance music. As soon as you hear that beat, you cannot help yourself. You have to move, you have to shift, you have to do something. At the end of it all, the artist and whatever subject matter it is that just kind of layers on that beat, as long as you could write that beat properly, have somebody like just catch them properly, yeah, that's what you have. Yeah, that's what you call a hit right there. As long as it could transcend generations, everybody could relate, everybody could understand and actually move and groove to it. That's what it is.
All right. So then what role do you play in this whole ecosystem, this whole music ecosystem? Where do you come in? We know you have the artist. What exactly does Jammin do?
All right. So Jammin, myself, I am a music producer. So basically what I do is I take the various elements and I put them together. For example, I work with a vast network of beat makers, artists, musicians, just talented people on a whole. Again, people who wouldn't necessarily have that outlet or that platform for them to actually reach those markets that they want to reach. Right. So essentially what I do, I bring them together. I would conduct the studio session. If anything, work on some of the lyrics, work on the writing. So first and foremost, when I get a beat from a beat maker, send it to the pool of artists that I have. We come into the studio who would have a finished complete song, who would have a chorus alone, who would have a verse alone. We'll come in the studio, vibes, and just make it happen. And then after that, mix, master, increase marketability as much as possible, get it up on the digital platforms, and see as far and as wide as we could reach.
Got you. So what are some of your major hits that you helped produce that you were part of that people might not even know about?
Okay, let me start listing them. I think if I have to start off, one of the breakout ones for us would have been Badin Bum Bum, Servants and Mighty, Backbend Servants. There's Tua by Mighty Makawe Tua Makawe. Yeah, that kind of stuff. To Clap, Futeli, by Pats, Kedek Kedek, Nana, Painkiller, Bap. In recent times, there are so many of them, though. I keep on forgetting, I swear.
Yeah.
But the most recent one that we did was the Kwe, Futeli, Kedek Kedek, and Nana. That would have been back-to-back successes by Mighty year after year, literally dominating Saint Lucia Carnival.
Right. So then, let's go back to the international appeal of it, though. You said it had a wide range in reach. What parts of the globe have these artists performed, and what was the perception of it outside of Saint Lucia? Because it's, we really want to speak about its development and its marketability outside of this island of ours.
It's been performing well because, like I said, at its core, Dennery Segment is dance music. You don't really need to understand the lyrics for you to be able to dance and move to the rhythm. So we've gone as far. I could remember Ampa performing as far as Asia. Which other Saint Lucian artists that performed in Asia, bro? Right. People actually moving and grooving. So Asia, the UAE, all the diaspora markets such as Canada, the UK, the US, regional, of course. So yeah, it's been far and wide, but I think the furthest one in terms of reach or flight time would have been in that Asian continent.
All right, it has to be, and trust me, I've been to China, and that is a far way away.
Exactly.
It's like you're in a different universe.
Exactly.
Right?
So just imagine a small time artist, a small time singer, Saint Lucian born artist reaching as far as Asia just based on music alone. That has to be a major accomplishment, bro.
For sure, for sure. All right, so we're due for our second break, and we'll come back with more Jason after this one. You spend months planning for the perfect event. You have great guests, you have great speakers, and the event is a success. But in 24 hours, it's gone. But what if it doesn't have to be? Introducing Event Voices by Game Changers. We shoot a live podcast episode at your event, turning your speakers into content. We blend our production quality with your event. Your speakers plus our production quality and distribution equals more leads for everybody. For more information on how you can transform your event into something game-changing, contact us via the information on the screen. Welcome back to the Game Changers Hub podcast, and we're again with Jason. And Jason, in this segment, I really want us to address the state of entertainment in Saint Lucia. The industry has grown, like you said, it's evolved. But how will you describe the industry in Saint Lucia currently, and maybe what needs to happen so that it can get to an even higher level?
I mean, like you said, it has grown tremendously. Right now, the entertainment industry in Saint Lucia is booming. It's blossoming into something really, really beautiful. I remember at first, it used to be a struggle to get various players in the industry, for example, dancers, musicians. It used to be a struggle to actually get people to or actually get them anywhere. You wouldn't know where to find them, essentially.
Right
now, there are platforms on jazz lineups. You would find local musicians and entertainers getting their spot, getting their shine, whether it be carnival, whether it be any sort of entertainment-driven spectacle. You would find some kind of local presence there. Before that used to be really and truly non-existent. So it has grown leaps and bounds. But right now, I think again, with anything else, there is still room for growth, still room for improvement. Again, it's just to first and foremost find these local talents and actually help grow them, blossom them. And again, where do we even start to look for them? How do we make them avail themselves? That's a conversation I think that needs to be had.
And then I had a conversation. In fact, we must do another one. Maybe you can join it with a pool of people in the creative sector. And then I was speaking to them, and I was telling them that it seems like it's only around either carnival or jazz time where we produce music. And maybe some people might not be into carnival, might not necessarily be into jazz, and they do need music for themselves as well throughout the year. So how do we have that as well?
I think when we first started Dennery Segment, that's what we did. We kind of broke that mold out of that whole seasonal creativity when it comes to Saint Lucia and our music industry. Dennery Segment, it didn't have a time of year or anything. You could have Dennery Segment right year round. I mean, it's becoming a little bit seasonal now because, again, I think during Carnival, that's when the industry starts booming. That's when it's most lucrative, if you want to call it that, here in Saint Lucia. But again, you have to look at other facets such as diaspora travel, such as regional travel as well, because people are clamoring for what is us, what is uniquely Saint Lucian, what is our vibe, our music, our presence. They want to see what's next from us. And having it seasonal like that, it has its place, but at the same time, we need to be a little bit more consistent with our delivery. And again, we don't need to solely focus on St. Lucian Carnival or the St. Lucian calendar of events. We could do stuff year round and just capitalize on everything happening in this globalized world that we live in right now.
Beautiful. And yeah, like you rightfully said, and as somebody who works in the tourism sector, and I used to work in the tourism sector as well. In fact, my degree is in hospitality and tourism management. And people often forget that people come to St. Lucia. Yes, they might be attracted by the beaches and the scenery, but they come back to St. Lucia because of the people, because of the experiences and the vibe of St. Lucian culture, regardless. Music, yes, but not just music. Music, other forms of entertainment, just the vibe of St. Lucia. That's why they return. And we need to develop our industry in that regard so that we can keep, the cash cow industry, tourism going and booming and thriving in that way. Would you agree with that?
I think so, definitely, because you could see it happening right now, especially in most of the hotels and Airbnb sectors. Like, people really capitalize on the local aspect of things because that they understand that's what people come for. They come for our vibe, what makes us authentically St. Lucian. Just imagine somebody coming from the States or Canada. They don't want to be listening to the same stuff that they've been listening to all the time. They come to experience the island, and part of that experience is our entertainment, our lifestyle, our culture. People come for that, and that's why they return. And again, I always say this, though, it's something in the water. St. Lucians are just a nice, hospitable people.
Yeah, naturally.
Naturally. I mean, it comes effortlessly.
Okay, and then in terms of development outside of, if in the music industry as well, but like governmental support in terms of support from the powers that be, what do you need to make your life easier? Let's put it that way.
Well, again, I mean, creating those avenues is one thing. We've already started. We just need to continue with creating those avenues and making those platforms for people to actually be able to let the talent be shown. That's one. Another thing would be investment. I guess we are seeing a push in terms of investment in creatives, especially with the youth economy and stuff like that. So, I mean, just be more consistent with it, be more forward with it, and be more innovative with that approach as well. So, to me, with these two things, continued avenues for exploitation of the music or the craft or whatever the case may be, and just support, whatever it be, financial, whatever the case may be, just to help our artists and our talent reach the next level, because there's always something to aspire to.
For sure. And then let's say a young person is looking at this podcast and is interested in getting into the music industry. Might not be an artist, but might be interested in the business of the music industry. What would you tell to that person as general advice?
General advice. Okay, so help me understand the question properly. So, general advice for somebody getting into the business of music in St. Lucia.
Yes. So they're watching this interview and they're inspired by you. They say, hey, but I didn't know this guy was doing all those things. He's not one of the artists. He's not always in front of the camera. He's not always having a conversation about this thing, but he's been working steadily behind the scenes. I want to do just like you.
Right.
What would you tell that person?
First and foremost, love what you do. Have a genuine passion for what it is that you're going into. Because if you're getting into music or any art form just for the money, the passion, the creativity, the innovation that's required for an industry like this, you will not succeed.
Right.
Straight, you will not succeed. You will get frustrated and eventually just burn yourself out. But if there's a genuine love for the art form, I mean, that's where it first starts. And learning the actual business of music, I mean, the most important thing is to network. Be with like-minded people, get their thoughts, get their input. Work with people that essentially make you better at what you want to do. That's essentially what it was for me. And I think that's what it is for a lot of our musicians and our talent out here. So it's just to align yourselves with like-minded people and learn as much as you possibly can about the business of it. I mean, there are so many online degrees about the business of music. There are a couple of them here in Saint Lucia about the business of music as well too. So if you really want to get into it, learn as much as you possible. There's the internet for a reason.
For sure, for sure. And then, okay, so next, let's look into the future. Next 5 years.
All right.
What will Jammin Entertainment look like in the next 5 years if you have it your way?
That's a good question. That's a very, very good question. I mean, right now, when we are focusing on the development of our music and stuff, right now we are actually trying to align ourselves with our Martinican counterparts. That's why you find a lot of our music sounding similar, and we have that cross between Martinique and Saint Lucia. Yeah,
I never really thought about it, but that makes perfect sense.
That's really low-hanging fruit right there.
Dominica,
exactly.
Yeah.
And I have a bunch of my counterparts over in Martinique as well. You have Mikado, you have Natoxi, you have a bunch of other producers and artists over there. And we just building that bridge in terms of our entertainment industry just to make things more lucrative for both of our ends. So for me in the next 5 years, what would I like to see? In terms of our music, just more of a presence on the global scheme, probably Caribbean Music Awards. There are discussions about us being in there already, but again, just a bit more of a presence for Saint Lucia, where music is concerned in the region first, and again, on that international level.
But if you would go to a Caribbean Music Awards, I mean, what category would they even put Dennery Segment in?
That's a very good question. Because Dennery Segment kind of falls in line with, how you call it, probably the Bashman Soca sometimes.
I guess so, yeah.
Trinidad.
Yeah.
It's the things that are like identical to the places they come from.
Right.
Not necessarily. Soca is more like a regional thing right now. Yes. But you find those niche things like your boo, you're coming from Dominica.
Yeah, right.
So those niche segments, I don't know. Probably there could be a niche category for something. Something could happen.
Got you. All right. So then somebody is looking at this as well and want to get in contact with Jason Darius. They like Jason's vibe as a person, but more importantly, they want to do business with Jason Darius. How can they reach out to you?
All right, most definitely. You could hit up my Instagram at Jammin758. That's the Instagram. Facebook is always there, Jason.Darius. Also, my business email address would be jamminstudios758@gmail.com. You could reach me on any of those handles, and I'll be sure to answer. I want to give out my phone number too, but that'll cause more problems than anything.
Right. Let's just keep it professional and go to your social media. Right?
Yeah, man.
All right. Okay, bro. So this has been a really interesting interview. You've opened up my eyes, and I have really enjoyed that conversation.
Yeah.
I look forward to even bigger things from you and further development. And you know, there's always room to collaborate with Game Changers. I always have to put that in there as well. You know, we cover professional events as well. So if you have the opportunity and you want us to have a similar conversation like this, we are available. And I know you work with a particular corporate entity. I will not name, but we're also looking for sponsorship as well.
No problem.
You know, collaborate with us. And yeah, I really like this conversation, and we need to have more conversations like this.
I think so too.
Because it's about. Because like I said in the beginning, maybe Dennery Segment is not everybody's cup of tea. That's fine. But it's not just about Dennery Segment. It's about the development of Saint Lucia and the development of Saint Lucians.
Exactly.
And if we develop this segment, then we could probably find ways and similar ways to develop other segments as well, which will benefit the country as well, economically and otherwise.
Just make it as lucrative as possible. I think the next time I'll invite you, or we could have a discussion like this, is when we're actually done with improving the studio. We could come through, do a little bit of a studio tour, and just let something happen. For sure.
And we're looking forward to that. Just before we end, just a little bit about that studio. Why are you developing a physical space like this? And just tell me a little bit about it. I know you're not done yet, but just tell me a little bit about the plan.
All right, so we had a physical space before, but it wasn't really necessarily meeting our needs. That was probably just like a nice little apartment vibe below Mighty's house. So we all came together like in a good mess spirit just to build our space. You know, that's ours.
Real grassroots stuff, yeah?
Exactly. So we put it together. But again, in doing stuff, you don't really know. And then we started developing issues like mold and starting to take care of that. And it was like, yeah, we have to be more health conscious and try and take care of ourselves a little bit more. So we forego that space. And again, everybody just went through different walks of life. Right now, Mighty's overseas in England. At that time, I think Sylvans was up in Canada. And everybody was just apart. And I was like the only one in that space. So I was like, dude, I could do this from anywhere.
Yeah.
So
It's true.
why compromise my health? So
Right.
right now we're just finalizing a new space that's better ventilated, more accommodating for content creation and what the modern age demands from content creators. So after that, I think we'll be set in terms of our visuals, in terms of our marketability, social media presence, and everything should be on the up and up. That's
Beautiful.
what I'm hoping for, crossing fingers, crossing toes, and everything in between.
You don't have a timeline attached to it, right?
Hopefully by the end of this year, we should be okay. In time for Carnival next year, for sure.
Okay, for sure. So we look out for that, and we will do that too.
There you go.
We will definitely do that too. All right, guys. So this has been another insightful episode of Game Changers. Remember, the Game Changers is available wherever you get your podcasts across podcast platforms. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe. If you listen to this on any audio streaming platforms, remember to follow us and give us a nice rating. Jason was an amazing guest. 5 stars for Jason. Not even for
I appreciate it.
5 stars for Jason, right? All right. So thank you so much for coming on. And as always, stay hungry and I'll see you next time. But before we go, I must put a little plug in. Jason will be doing a special Patreon, only exclusively Patreon piece on how to develop your creativity. After this, I will be actually filming it after this, but only those who are subscribed to our Patreon will be getting that. So if we've seen the success, you can go on this page and see his own success there. It will be only posted there. So remember to subscribe to our Patreon as well. Anyhow, guys, stay hungry and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.